We just got a new update for Madden 24, and we also got a bunch of news on some of the upcoming future updates that should be here in a few weeks. Now, of course, Madden 24 dropped just over a week ago, so it's about that time where the updates are going to start rolling out. We've got players switching teams, we've got rosters being finalized before the NFL season, we've got the big title updates that's going to start dropping soon, and of course, there's always a different number of bugs and things that need to be tweaked and addressed as well. So let's first start with the update that went through late last night, and then we're going to also talk about some of the other updates that are coming, especially addressing some things that you guys have been asking me about. Now, we've got some roster moves that are finally official in the game. Dalvin Cook is now officially on the Jets, rocking number 33, and he's actually an X Factor player as well. He is the 50th X Factor for this year's game, and we didn't really know about that because he was still technically a free agent. So he is the only X Factor player on the Jets with the first one free X Factor. He's also got Energizer, which is okay. He's got Jukebox, which is the best ball carrier ability this year by far. Juking is really good in this game, so Dalvin Cook having Jukebox really helps him out a ton, and he's also got Balance Beam. We've also got Ezekiel Elliott officially on the New England Patriots, rocking the number 15 like he did back in Ohio State. He's no longer an X Factor or a superstar player, he simply has star development, but if you're doing franchise, you could probably upgrade him back to superstar pretty easily. They're probably going to have to update his likeness at some point because he did just finally cut all of his hair off. Now, this is an official scan with his actual hair, how it was before, so they may have to do some type of an update to get him looking more like himself, but he is now officially on the Patriots. And we also got Jadeveon Clowney officially on the Baltimore Ravens with the normal development trait, rocking the number 24, which I have to say is just weird. I don't like it. I know the number rules or whatever now, you can do whatever you want, but there's just certain things that look weird, and number 24 on a pass rusher just doesn't do it for me. I don't know. I don't like it. But there's also some other roster moves and ratings updates that went into effect. They didn't put out an official list, but they did say that they updated a lot of the rosters. It's not 100% up to date with the real life rosters. That's going to happen right before the season starts because there are still some players who are free agents who did just sign to teams. There's also some players that retired, like Corey Davis, who is still officially on the Jets because that happened a day after the update. But all that stuff is going to probably go through next week in the final update before the season starts. Now, hey, if you're still here at this point of the video and you haven't subscribed yet, you might as well go ahead, subscribe, join the family, because you're basically already a part of the family anyway if you're still here. That way you're up to date with all of your latest football gaming news, and we're on the road to 1 million subs, and I'd love for you to be a part of it. Now, EA's put out some more news about some other updates that are coming, and one of the EA developers has been on Twitter, which, I mean, I guess now it's called X, but I still call it Twitter. He's been over there answering a bunch of questions that people have had as well, so we kind of know what to expect in the coming weeks. He did say the bug where you can only edit players on your own teams and franchise, you can't edit the CPU players, that is going to be fixed soon as well. They're working on that. He also said the free agent bug, or the bug where you edit players' positions, it affects their experience and how many years they've been in the league. He said they have a fix in for that as well. He said there's also a fix coming for certain helmets that are not sitting correctly on players. It seems like that's been an issue the last few years when they add new helmets. Sometimes they don't sit correctly on the players, and I don't know what really all goes into that, I'm gonna be honest, but I don't know how they keep having issues with that. He also mentioned the clothes for the coaches. I mean, like, to me, I don't really care about stuff like this, but a lot of people do. When you edit your coach or create a coach, there's not as many clothes options there used to be, and all of the coaches in the game, I think, wear the same thing right now, whereas they used to wear different things that were more like what they wore in real life. He said with the Sapien tech, they had to rebuild all the coach models, and that's why they're all wearing the same thing right now, because now they have to rebuild out the different clothes for each individual character. He said, so those should be coming soon. They just couldn't do it for launch. He also mentioned that there's going to be some field updates soon, like for the Giants and Jets, they're going to now have the logo at midfield instead of the NFL logo. That is not currently in the game, as that was a recent change that they made, and it has not been updated in the game yet, but he said that should be coming with the first or second update. He also said there's a number of uniform updates that are coming because there's a couple uniforms in the game where there's a color that's slightly off, or they just kind of did a part of the uniform a little bit wrong, which, I mean, again, things like that, I'm not sure how that happens, because I think that's just one of those things that you just got to get right. I mean, it's the uniforms that they wear, but I know teams, obviously, they change them up sometimes year to year. They'll change a color on the collar or on the side of the pants, like they'll change it from one year to the next, and then sometimes it's not updated right away. But he said there's a number of teams that might have a color that's off here or there. That's all being worked on, and that's going to be changed probably in this first coming update. Now, really quickly, I do want to also mention that we are sponsored by Underdog Fantasy once again. They've been a huge supporter of the channel. They're a great fantasy app, but what I love most about them is their pick'em game. If you like to dabble in the sports betting a little bit, it can be fun to play while you're watching the games. You pick a couple player props, you put them together, and if they hit, you can win some big money. And if you use my promo code RAY at sign up, they'll actually double your first deposit up to $100, so you can get $100 free to play around with. So if you're into it, you might as well check it out, because who doesn't like free money? They also put out a post on the forums about franchise mode. It said that the draft class download issues are being worked on. It says that we're aware of an issue affecting the appearance of players when importing custom draft classes. And I think this also goes hand in hand with the fact that if you try to edit players in draft classes, a lot of times it reverts back and the changes do not stay. So that's being worked on. They said that they're also working on a fix where players in multi-user leagues were able to edit the height, weight, and age of players. Only commissioners are allowed to do that. That's not an intended function. And they said that they're working towards a resolution for that in the next title update. And it said, for the meantime, if a person tries to edit a player's height, weight, or age, it'll show up in the transaction log. And for my PC people, they also put out some notes for PC as well. It says, hey Madden fans, our development team wanted to provide an update on our PC player community. The team is aware and actively working on 2 key issues. Those 2 issues are related to game performance and menu lag for some players. It says game performance. 2 tips to improve the performance are adjust the frame rate from uncapped to a specific number. Example, 60 frames per second or 120 frames per second, and check performance in game. It said also ensure the game is running in full screen under the visual settings menu. And they also added a note that said in order to bring the PC version of Madden 24 in line with next gen console feature sets, the minimum specs required has increased this year. We are seeing some players that are not meeting the minimum spec requirements to optimally run Madden NFL 24. You can review the specs here, and the team is working on in-game feedback to make players aware. So I'll have this whole post here linked below in the description if you want to read over it and look at the specs. I know when I tried running it, I had to make quite a few adjustments, and I don't have the best PC in the world. I don't have the worst either. I think I have kind of like a middle of the road gaming PC, and I definitely had to adjust some settings. I'll also link a video in the description under this post where there's a guy that went over the settings that he used, and those are the settings I used and they worked for me. I definitely put it on 60 frames per second. When I had it uncapped, it just was not having it. You also need to lower some other things, like I think the crowd resolution and some other things like that that really take up a lot of resources to run. So I'm going to link that video in the description. It's what worked for me. So if that doesn't work for you, then maybe it's possible that you just don't have a PC that's good enough to run it based on whatever their specs are, which you can look at in the other post that I'm going to link. But those settings worked pretty well for me. Before that, I was having the same trouble though. We also got another pretty significant update today that applies for Ultimate Team. They said that MUT Champs, aka Weekend League, will be on all Madden going forward. So no more All Pro. And honestly, that is a great change because that is probably the most competitive mode in the entire game. Weekend League is where the top players want to go to compete to really see who's the best online. And All Pro versus All Madden this year is a pretty severe difference. It's usually pretty different every year, but this year even more so. All Madden gives you by far the best gameplay this year. All Pro, the defense and the AI is noticeably a lot dumber, whereas on All Madden, they're actually not too bad. So this is actually a really good change for a competitive mode. And even if you're playing franchise or anything else, try playing All Madden versus All Pro. Even if you got to tweak some sliders a little bit, All Madden is going to definitely give you by far the best gameplay and the best challenge this year. They also brought up the Madden Companion app, which I've seen a lot of people ask questions about that. They said there's no release date yet for the Madden Companion app, and they said they'll be sure to let us know when it's available. So I'm not really sure what the deal with that is. I've never personally used it, but I know a lot of people do. So no release date yet, but it appears to be coming eventually. Now, if you want to know about 5 other really big updates that are set to come later this year in Madden 24, make sure to check out this important video right here on the screen.